Like cars are just priced so high right now that it's almost unaffordable for a lot of people.
You can't legislate people into liking EVs, and that's what we've seen.
Manufacturers are moving towards hybrid vehicles,
Yeah.
more hybrid vehicles, or they're seeing a demand for hybrid vehicles more.
Yeah.
Hybrids are going to go back up, and people are going to drive it because it's the best of both worlds.
Either,
But the new M5 is a good example of a modern car that's out of the spectrum of boring cars. That's a hybrid.
Yeah.
Because you have a 700 horsepower car.
Yeah.
Why don't we like Nissan? We're car people.
He's got a McLaren that's tuned. He had a Mercedes E63 on like 1,000 horsepower, like an E85.
M3.
He says this Evo is beyond anything you've experienced.
Yeah.
It's a rocket ship. Most reliable brand was Subaru this year. Here's the first problem. It's called the Cybertruck.
Yeah.
And it has no truck attributes. It's not a truck.
But here's the thing, it's bulletproof. You can drive it on the moon.
This is a car that you don't really care about the aesthetics that much. You just want to get from point A to point B at an affordable
And to smoke M3s off the line. It's like me trying to convince my 11-year-old daughter that I'm cool. It never works.
Yeah.
The harder I try to explain
worse
it,
it
the
gets.
less cool I am.
Yeah.
You know?
You just have to let go.
How is Aston Martin doing it? How are they popping out V12s? They don't have a single EV. They don't have anything, like, everything's...
I think they're just saying screw it. I think because they're doing the opposite of what the majority of the manufacturers are doing, and they're listening to their clients or customers and saying, we'll give you what you want. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Car Talk. We're here with Eric and Lukasz once again, and you guys were saying this is the first and the last of 2024.
It's been a busy year, I think, for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, at least we're starting this off, and look forward to.
We'll make it an annual tradition. We at least get one in.
There you go. It's your annual one Car Talk episode.
We can't let down those 328 viewers. They really depend on us.
It's getting better.
Yeah.
I think I've figured out how to make this more engaging because you do these long form formats, but then you slice them up into small little talking bits.
Yeah.
And as we release one episode, we can do those smaller shorts, and people kind of gravitate towards that a little bit. So, but anyways, in this one, we're going to be talking about the car sales for 2025, the GT3 market, some of the Nissan Bows, and the Cybertruck hype. So we'll start from the top and work our way down. So where do we go? Shall we dive right in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Any more time?
Yeah.
Let's talk about predictions for the 2025 car sales globally, for Canada, the US, and then we'll move to the next subtopic.
Okay.
What do you all think? What's going to be the hype or trend for 2025?
Maybe as a starting point, we'll talk about like what happened in 2024 and maybe Canada and beyond. But I think Canada saw an increase in auto sales. I think up 10%, roughly. My view. I don't think that's going to continue into 2025. I think there was a couple headwinds at play, right? We had two rate cuts by the Bank of Canada. You've got immigration like as being a huge macroeconomic theme. So we've never seen, I think in 50 years, never seen this grow. So you're adding this population. People need to get around. And I think that's slowing. I think that's become a very hot political issue. So I think you're going to claw back on immigration. I think rate cuts are going to stall out at least till there's a change of government. I think you've got the carbon tax rolling in, which will increase, maybe inflation and not allow them to drop rates further. So I think that those kind of some of the what I would say is going to mean probably a flattish 2025 outlook. That's
what would you say if the manufacturers dropped interest rates on their own, like let's say leases?
Yeah, so they're doing that now, right?
Yeah.
You're seeing that. I think that's a sign, right, that they're people aren't walking in the door. I think we, a few podcasts ago, we talked about the car shows and no one showing up because it wasn't a problem they needed to solve. They didn't need to promote the cars. They had, the demand for the cars were outstripping the supply they had. I think the economics of that are changing. So, I think they have to get creative, offer manufacturer incentives, financing, things like that. But I don't think that'll be like a leading indicator. I think that's a reaction to like slow sales, a slowdown in sales.
Yeah. But in terms of like even interest rate drops from manufacturers, look at like the pricing on the vehicles now. Like Eric was showing us a Honda Civic. I know it's a Type R Civic, but it was 70 grand. Yeah. You know, like cars are just priced so high right now that it's almost unaffordable for a lot of people. And people are going to the used market, but then after it doesn't help because used market interest rates are even higher. Yeah. So you're actually better off buying a new car than a used car. Like what's the incentive? There's no incentive to go buy used cars, right?
There was a period where used cars were the best buy.
Yeah.
I mean, if you buy cash.
Yeah.
Cash is a different story for sure. Yeah.
But in terms of, I mean, vast majority of people are leasing or financing, right?
Yeah.
So,
but that'll change, right? Like if things slow down, people go back into the new, right? I think you saw people get away from new because there wasn't inventory of new. You know, the cars that we like, you couldn't get an allocation on new. So I think you were forced in the used market. I think you're seeing. I read a stat. I think it's about auto dealers have about 80 days of inventory on their lots now. Meaning that if they didn't get a new car arrival, it would take them 80 days to clear through. Yeah. And I think that's a higher than usual number.
What was it, 60 before or something?
Oh, yeah.
No, it was even lower. There's a guy on YouTube. His name is Brian. I forget his name on Instagram, but he kind of goes through markets and compares different manufacturers and the length of time it takes them to hold on to a car or sell it. And there's a lot of companies in trouble, like a lot. And I think that's one of the topics we're going to talk about with Nissan. Yeah. But it's not just Nissan. There's a lot of automakers who are just on the on the brim of bankruptcy.
I would say it's all attributed to some of the stringent policies set by these politicians. The demand for EV in 2025, well, 24 is like plummeted, right?
Yeah.
And manufacturers pivoted significantly into EV production, and now there's no demand for it.
That might be a North American view. If you look at like China, I think 1 in 2 cars sold is electric in China, right? Yeah. So I think, certainly Canada, EV has not been a winning
US,
proposition.
Europe, same thing.
Yeah. I think they're like, was it 20%? I think it's 20% of US sales. Like the second best selling car in the world last year, you know what it was? A Tesla Model Y. Right?
Really?
I think it was the Model Y it was a Tesla. Toyota Corolla, I think, was the number 1 selling car.
So why is everyone else struggling with this large inventory of EVs that are just sitting on the lot, not being...
I think that's a Canadian bias too. Like it doesn't, I think there's a cold weather climate at play. I think our EV sales dropped. I think from 8% of cars sold to around 6% in 2024. So I think they're rejecting it, right? You can't legislate people into liking EVs, and that's what we've seen. We've seen it I think in Canada, Trudeau was saying till by 2035, right? All cars should be electric.
Yeah.
But the market, this is not my opinion, the market's rejecting that.
Yeah. Even the distances, like, if you compare, let's say, European cities, you can drive to Prague or from Krakow or somewhere else in 3-4 hours. Over here, 3-4 hours, you're not even in Toronto.
You're not getting from Ottawa.
You're not getting anywhere. So it's just the range is killing a lot of buyers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do you think it'll ever get past those issues?
Well, as 2 things have to happen, right? Like the technology improves, range gets better, and then the infrastructure around that, right? That you have a better network of charging stations. Like look at the U.S., what a disaster that's been. I think the government spent $42 billion and came up with like 3 charging stations. I think is what they like. So you probably need private enterprise to solve for this because the public sector has failed abysmally all over Canada and the U.S.
But another deterrent I noticed, it's a kind of ongoing theme with all EVs, is that the resale is horrible.
Yeah.
So what's let's say you're buying, let's take an expensive EV, a Taycan Turbo S or something like $230,000 car. You buy this car, and a year later, it's worth half that.
Yeah.
So why would you buy that car?
Yeah.
It's almost like right? You're spending, you're saving on fuel perhaps, but you're taking a hit on so much depreciation.
Yeah.
I've seen all these accounts of like being in very minor accidents, and the car is being a write-off because if you've compromised the battery system, in even what doesn't feel like a material weight. The insurance company just says it's too much. You can't park that in your garage for fear of
fire,
starting a fire,
combusting.
Yeah.
Right. So those costs I think are deterrent as well. And I think if you just look at the economic headwinds in the average household, things are expensive right now, and EVs are not the economical choice, right? Sure, there's a presumed like operating cost, you don't have to put fuel in it, but that's the electricity.
It doesn't offset the cost of depreciation.
Yeah, it doesn't. And the entry point of entry is they're more expensive.
I mean, we've debated the whole EV conversation in the previous podcast, but I think as a trend that we're seeing at the end of 2024 going into 2025 is that I think manufacturers are moving towards hybrid vehicles, more hybrid vehicles, and they're seeing a demand for hybrid vehicles more. Yeah. So I think the emphasis on EVs will reduce. Hybrids are going to go back up, and people are going to drive it because it's the best of both worlds. If you want to drive on, EV mode, you can, but then you have the range because of the.
I think, and what I've seen with some of the hybrids, I think are winning strategies. They're putting them in vehicles that, because in the past we used to put hybrids in these really compact cars, which were already fuel efficient to begin with. They're small, but like Jeep Wrangler has a hybrid, right? I have one of my team members has one, and they have a very short distance to work, and so they hardly use any gas, but they still get to drive a cool vehicle. So I think that's a winning strategy. For me, the deal breaker on a hybrid is I couldn't own one at a warranty.
There's so much. The system is complex.
System is very complex.
I mean, it's no different than EVs, no?
Well, true, and I also wouldn't own one of those at a warranty, but I wouldn't own one of those in warranty either.
But the new M5 is a good example of a modern car that's out of the spectrum of boring cars. That's a hybrid. Because you have a 700 horsepower car. That's a hybrid now, right?
But that's how they achieved that 700 horsepower.
And I think that's how they're meeting their emissions goals and everything else, right? I think they had no choice, and that's also talk for future cars to come. Performance cars, sports cars, are they going to be hybrid? Because is that the only way they can afford to manufacture them?
We can touch on that when we get to the next topic of GT3s.
Yes.
On this prediction side of things, as another thing that we could say is, if you look at manufacturers now, like for example Porsche Taycan, that was an EV only design model that went out. It's not selling well. They're bleeding money on them, and now they're making a decision to change, say on that platform we'll give you the ICE option as well. So now having EV or an ICE variant, it's up to the consumers to decide what's best for them, which is amazing in my view.
I love that too, because I've always thought the Mission E concept was what the Panamera should have looked like.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they put an electric system in it.
You know what I think though? It won't look the same, because the hood on the Taycan is so flat and so low. I think they'll have a hard time fitting any sort of motor in there.
Boxster engine, just like the 911s. Like it doesn't need a whole lot.
They can make it fit.
Yeah, they'll make it fit.
I don't know about that.
Or make it a rear engine.
A rear end. No, right, you're going crazy.
You have to remember, it's
a rear engine Taycan family.
I don't know. I think they might change the shape of the car a little bit. They're going to have to redefine like the Taycan, for EV and for combustion.
Well, if they can't make the V8 fit, they must have quit.
I agree.
I'm okay with the big power dome. To fit an engine in there.
Put a big hood scoop on there. Some flames, racing stripes.
Pontiac Firebird. But so here's the thing. Recently, I did this video with John Chimere on the Maserati. Their plans is essentially to use the same platform to offer an ICE variant and an EV variant and a hybrid variant. I don't know if there was a hybrid.
So 3 different variants in the same model?
So the Gran Turismo, for example, they have an EV variant, maintain the same design and look and aesthetics, but they're able to support both variants, which is from an engineering perspective, it's not impossible. Right?
And it's better for scaling, right?
Yeah.
Like certain parts of your manufacturing, you can like the body, all the interior, everything else.
The only thing I think will be sacrificed is design.
What do you mean?
Because a lot of cars are designed, like the body and the way that everything is assembled is really structured around the motor. What fits, there's so many tight parts that have to come into play, and like there's, you know, like you want a fender to flare out or flare in, you have to have room to fit all these things. When you're building a unibody car to fit 3 different platforms, it has to have a lot of space to do it to all of them. So I think you're going to sacrifice design for utility at that point.
I'm hopeful that whatever variant comes out will still be appealing. What I find today is, like, if you look at the Panamera versus the Taycan, out of the box, the fitment on the Panamera is garbage, but the fitment on the Taycan, bang on.
What do you mean fitment?
Like the wheel fitment.
Like the stands. I mean, they're on air suspension, so they're starting to get better for ICE variants as well.
Yeah, the road presence of the Taycan is way better than a Panamera.
Well, the new Panamera has a hydraulic suspension now. It's even more advanced than the Panamera than the Taycan. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Any final thoughts on the predictions that you want to call out other than what we talked about, Eric?
So I'm going to just put a cap on it. Flat. I think it's going to be flattish auto sales, certainly in Canada, probably North America. I would say
Finance
the same.
guy has spoken.
Yeah.
From you?
I think the same. I think it'll be flat, and I think it'll be affected even more with the next topic. That's going to be. I think there's going to be a lot of
GT3 sales is a big.
Yeah, it is, because it's
headwind.
You know, 2023, 24 was kind of crazy, and like, you know, allocations were the first thing, resale values were the second thing, lack of, I guess, inventory versus demand. I think with the new pricing on the GT3, and especially with the market the way it's going, I don't think they're going to sell the same as they did in the 992.
So they increased the pricing in the new GT3, right?
Let's come to that in a moment.
Okay.
2025, I think it'll be a seller's market, not necessarily a buyer's market for cars, I would say.
No, I think it'll be a buyer's market for used cars, like for example.
Okay.
Because seller's market means they'll be at an advantage. I think the buyer will be at an advantage, because it'll be easier to get the car for less money. It'll be a buyer's market.
Well, maybe that we might contradict that when we talk about the GT3.
All right.
Okay, so let's wrap that one up. Next topic, the future of GT3 and what it means for enthusiasts. All of us here are GT3 enthusiasts. We think that's probably one of the most iconic connected sports car you could buy today.
Yep.
One would say or argue it's the perfect sports car.
Yep.
Not a supercar, sports car. Let's talk about the current state. What do you see happening with the GT3 market now?
I think the secondary market will soften. I think people aren't going, like, you know, you have some people that were awarded these cars at MSRP, and then you know some unsavory practices around flipping them. I think that game will shift. I think if they can get their money back, that'll probably be what 2025 looks like. And understand this probably segment of a buyer doesn't need to sell the car necessarily. You would hope not. They're not financing these. As a rule, probably not. So I think they can probably hold on, but I just don't think they're going to see the premiums over MSRP that they were getting 2 years ago.
Demand, thoughts from you?
I actually think, as I watched a video on some salesmen who were just talking about Porsche and Lamborghini sales, and they said majority of their sales are actually financed.
Really?
A lot of them, 90%. So a lot of people are coming in to buy a Huracan, and they don't have 300,000. They're financing everything basically.
They're getting
or
creative
leasing.
leases and
Yeah.
So, and I know certain dealers, especially in Canada, that will only sell a Lamborghini that way.
Yeah.
They will not. You cannot buy it for cash. They will put you on one of their leasing programs
Because they want it back.
Well,
Or
they want
just
to make money on the.
Yeah.
They want to make money on the car and on the financing, right?
But this can sway both ways, because with the increase of new GT3s, is that going to affect the pricing on the used market to rise even more?
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, I've been following GT3 sales for a long time just to see what's out there, and they're not moving at the current pricing. No. They're sitting there. There's cars that have been there for the entire summer, and they're not selling. So if they increase the price on the new ones, $40,000 or what is it, $50,000 more for GT3?
Almost $100,000 more.
$100,000 more.
Yeah.
So like base MSRP.
Yeah.
No,
that's
like
impossible.
$80,000.
Really? Not Prabul spec where you've gone in and like.
So the old MSRP was what,
I thought it was something like 25 or 30,000, just base MSRP increase.
Let's compare.
They went up 25%.
Okay,
25%.
But it used to be you can get a GT3 for 250, 260 MSRP,
so
right?
it'd be 50 grand if it's 200.
But okay, so I guess we're talking about the 992.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm talking brand new
versus .2.
Last year versus this year. So what's the base MSRP?
277.
277.
That's up 30, 40 grand at least.
Oh wow.
From base to base.
So
that's a steel brake.
Yeah.
Bare
sofa
bones.
seat
Bare
car.
bones.
And if you were to finance it through Porsche, it's still $4,500 a month.
For Unreal. You can get a 458 Italia with.
You can get
for 10,000 kilometers on
used
it.
One.
Used one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but who cares?
But here's the thing. Here's what I think is happening because people have exploited the GT3 cars. Their investors have gotten into it and not enthusiasts.
Like speculators, not
speculators and whatnot. And they've been manipulating the market so much that prices went up $100,000 over MSRP in the used market, and enthusiasts unwillingly were paying for them.
Yeah,
and that's been a trend that kept going from generation to generation of the GT3s, if you would look at it that way, from 997 to the 991 to the 992. And so I think Porsche is finally looking at it and going, hey, why are we letting these speculators pocket this profits? Right. We'll do it ourselves. And that's what we're seeing with the 992.2. They're closing that gap of MSRP to used value.
I think that's fair game, right? Like if I'm Porsche, the manufacturer, I'm outlaying all the capital, the R&D, everything to deliver this product to market, and then I'm watching the secondary market reap all the profits with $0 invested, right? And your dealer network I would include in that
but guess who this hurts? The enthusiasts.
Yeah, of course.
People like us who, at least for me, the last 3 years I've been waiting in line for a GT3,
right?
And I'm finally maybe getting close to it, and then it goes, oh shoot, now it's super expensive. It's over $100,000 more than what I originally wanted to pay in Canada, at least with the luxury tax, the requirement for a stupid watch.
You got to buy the watch.
Yeah. So that 277 now with options is going to be 315, 305.
So you went through it the way you'd want it be 415.
Out of the door, after taxes, luxury tax, whatever, 410.
410.
Wow.
And the car have in the drive or in the garage right now, I paid $245. That was MSRP.
And it was a GT3.
So let's say it's 410. The monthly payment on that would be $6,000. So you go out there's 4 weekends in a month. We go out once a weekend. That's
if you're fine.
And it sits 4 months in the garage. It's an expensive car.
This is not including the finance side, right? If you were to lease that amount, that's going to cost even more.
Crazy. The cost of borrowing at probably 9%.
So to your point earlier about interest rates, they are dropping.
What's the interest on this, you think?
6%.
It's still pretty high. That's pretty high.
The cost of ownership. The cost of financing on that
7.49 right now.
That's very high for a car for that price
compared to what it was before.
So what this does is this takes all the speculation out of it, right? Like you can't flip that car 410 and overlay financing.
You can't flip it.
You can't flip that car.
You're losing money on this car for sure.
Well, so at the very least, it's going to hold value. It's not going to drop below the MSRP value, which is what a lot of enthusiasts want. They want a car that they can own that won't cost them a fortune down the road.
I disagree.
I don't know if that will hold true.
No, I disagree.
The things that have to be true in that case would be that, and I see it's your second bullet, that maybe if they start doing electric GT3s, well, suddenly that one is now always going to be worth 410 or more. But I don't know if that holds true. I think we're one economic headwind away from.
You know what's going to happen? They're going to sell these cars for $400,000, and used market they're going to be $260, $270, matching the prices of used cars because the used cars are not selling, and they're not going to go up in price anymore. So they're going to have to come down on the newer cars to match the used cars
eventually.
That's what I think is going to happen.
Because there was a point in time where we did see that happen, where prices were dropping MSRP just to make sales. Like Audi, I remember, like RS cars, they had to drop sales. The initial design or initial model will be a certain number, and then the facelift variant will be a little bit cheaper with options and things like that to make it more appealing. So I think it might come back to that. But one of the reasons why the GT3 992.2 has gone up significantly more is because now it offers you a WiseAct package for the very first time in a
non-RS,
non-RS car. And then for the touring, you now get back seats with all of the, let's say, RS lightweight trickery. So magnesium wheels, carbon fiber.
Is that like the ST really?
It's 80% of the ST is what we were being told.
Because the ST had back seats, right?
No.
Oh, it didn't. I thought it did.
Yeah. But do you know what the negatives are, which people are pointing out, is that every .2 generation has had either engine displacement increase, a lot of different things suspension-wise, or even aesthetic details were changed. In this version, they actually didn't change. They actually degraded the car in a lot of ways. And I think the biggest flaw in a car of this caliber is including a generic digital dash, because now they're cutting corners. Even the front bumper, there's no more signal lights. They're incorporated into the headlight. Yeah. So if you look at the aesthetics and the functionality of the car, they're making it they're blending it with the regular Carrera. They're not keeping it GT3-ish.
But isn't it like I was thinking back, like we saw this out of the Porsche playbook before, right? Porsche playbook, 911R. Then they did the GT3, the 991.2 touring, brought back the manual, and kind of not put that car to business, but certainly devalued the 911R. They did the ST. Everyone was hot and bothered over the car, and now they're doing a 992.2 with back seats, touring with back seats that gets you 80% of the ST.
And it has actually the shifters also very similar to an ST. I think it's changed from the last generation.
So if you do the light bow package on the GT3 touring, you get the short shifter.
Right.
But it's not as direct apparently as the ST.
So the ST, I think the shifters and what makes it so special is the flywheel.
Yeah.
Right.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, lightweight flywheel.
Lightweight, so there's less padding, it's louder, it's rougher.
It's harder to drive.
It's more of a connected driver's car, right? If you drove it well, you're
rewarded.
You're rewarded by it. And I think Porsche's 70 years now? Or it's an anniversary car.
Okay.
So that's one of the reasons why they made the ST, and it's a limited production number car compared to the touring, which will be thousands. Whereas
it's the same. The 911R was a limited production car, and then basically the same concept was released with the.
There's also another direction this is going to go into, which you might be very happy with. But I've been reading a lot of information from people who've owned every generation, and they're saying that the 991.2 is the generation to own.
Yeah.
They're saying that 992s, they're not the same. And especially with all the emission standards and I guess
like digital controls.
Well, not only that, but even the sound of the cars, they're not the same as they were before. What are the filters that they're having?
Particulate filters?
Yeah.
We don't have that in North America.
They do. So there's a guy. Do you follow Joe Knows Best?
Oh yeah.
So he actually smashed them out with a hammer because they have like a ceramic filter inside that comes because they make so little GT3s that they're not going to change.
It's not going to matter for you. You're just going to throw a new exhaust on it. It's game over.
Well, you have to go a little beyond that, to be honest. It's because it comes down to even the headers and beyond to make it sound the same. But the 991.2s, they just sounded better. Period.
See, now it's making my decision even harder.
Yeah. So I see the value of your car holding strong, and I see the value of 992s coming down.
Yeah.
That's what I predict.
You see that with the .1, 992.1 GT3s now.
Yeah.
They were sitting in the 380, close to 400, and COVID
290s
peak.
now.
Yeah, well, I mean for high mileage cars.
But imagine buying a 992 for 360, 370 and losing $80,000 in 1 year.
The ones that bought them without the patience,
crying.
and, bought them for high,
Yeah.
are now struggling on
Yeah.
that. Like they can't offload those cars.
And I'm glad that's happening, to be honest, because it's making the market more realistic for a lot of people, right?
You know, for the .2, 992.2, I think the thing that's going to hold its value significantly is that it's the short shifter manual with back seats, with the GT3 engine, the 9,000 RPM. I think it's going to be the last of its kind.
It's kind. Mind you, they're offering backseat conversions now for GT3s at a very affordable price.
It's like $5-10 or something.
Yeah, you can pick up.
What do you do with seatbelt? How do you get seatbelts?
It's a part of the kit.
Part of the kit.
Yeah, because if you remove all the liners, all the carpeting, all the hardware is still there.
They have the seatbelt posts.
Yeah, so I think the kit's like eight and a half or 10,000, but you can match the leather, match everything in your car. You do a swap in the afternoon, and then you have a functioning back seat in a bucket GT3.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's really. I think Porsche is trying to take advantage of that to sell the car.
Yeah.
Because they know at that price point they have to offer something.
Yeah, exactly.
Like no one's going to be buying a two-door bare bones GT3 for $400,000.
But this is the thing: if you were someone that was waiting in line for a 992.1 GT3, didn't make it, now we're waiting in line for a 992.2.
Yeah.
You
You're
would
faced
feel
with
like a sucker.
Is that someone you probably will?
It's like, damn, I have to pay $100,000 more than the .1.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
No.
And justification is, you can buy it and it'll still hold value to some extent. You won't lose that MSRP money. You won't make money, which I don't think most enthusiasts care about.
Yeah.
So I think it hurts enthusiasts a little bit. It shrinks the market. It probably weeds out the speculators. So there's more for enthusiasts, but unfortunately it might be pricing out these enthusiasts because they no longer can afford the car that they've been waiting 8 years, 5 years, whatever, right?
Yeah, we've seen that. Like that's been a trend that's repeated. Think about Barrett Jackson, what it did to the classic car market back in the early 2000s. It took a lot of like gearheads out of that. They couldn't afford that CUDA with a Hemi in it. So I don't know. We've been there before, and we'll definitely be there again.
It's going to be interesting tracking the sale of this car and what's happening to the used market, because I think it's at a point where they reached the maximum of value this car can cost for what's being offered.
Yes.
It's just at $400,000. There's so many other cars, whether it be used, that I would prefer to have, to be honest, because the GT3 is a great car. I would love to have one. I've been looking for one, obviously, but I just, for $400,000, I'm not buying a GT3. Like I'm buying something else.
Yeah. I agree. This is a website that I've been finding very useful. If you guys want to take a peek and explore it yourselves.
Want to plug it? Classic.com.
Classic.com. And I've been finding it very useful buying a used car as well. And you go through, you see the trends. Basically, it's an aggregated view of all sales from various auction platforms in a single view. So you can see what's the high sale, what's the low sale.
So blue line is average? What's the blue line?
The blue line is the average. So average is 239,000 USD for my 991.2. And Cayman GT4 RS, I'm so glad I didn't do it, because the prices are dropping like crazy. This was the point where I was about to buy it, and I decided not to. And look how
but the thing is, see, this is a funny car too, because I know it's not on the list, but it's actually a phenomenal car for what it is. You have awesome induction sound, a great platform that's very balanced, an awesome motor. The finishes are fantastic. It's priced too high. That's why it's dropping. The car is actually, it's arguably, a lot of people who are reviewing the car said it's a better car than the GT3 for the street.
Yes.
It's more fun, it's more engaging, but it's too expensive.
Did you see that, because you just brought the GT4 RS, did you see that thing where they put a Carrera GT, like the 2005 Carrera GT, they put it on Michelin.
On Cup 2s.
Like Cup 2, and ran her in the Nürburgring, and it improved its time from 7 minutes, 26 seconds down to like 7 minutes and 12 seconds, which is equal to the GT4 RS, a 712. 7 minutes, 12 seconds. So,
this thing is compared to the GT
Carrera GT.
Right. And Nürburgring time.
Which is amazing, right?
It's amazing, but
and it's a car that is, I mean, 200,000.
USD.
Yeah.
It's so I mean, I don't want to be the guy that's looking at, the only reason I look at this is because I don't want it to significantly depreciate, right? And if it does, I'm offloading it. And it's because I want to have the ability to continue to move to a potential new car without losing money. And if I don't have that opportunity, there's no point in doing this. It's
so
like,
this car, I think, is going to be a great car to buy if you want to keep that logic in reality, because even though it's dropping now, it's dropping because of the market and because the pricing originally is really high. But there's no more Caymans.
Yeah.
There's no more plan on making Caymans like this.
Yeah.
And this is the car that literally everybody asked for 10 years.
Yeah.
They shoved a GT3 motor into a smaller platform and made it nimble. And I haven't driven a GT4 RS. You've driven one, right? The induction sound is ridiculous. Like it's like you're driving a simulator.
It's mid-engine, right? Just the laws of physics.
Yeah, the intake is an inch from your ear.
Yeah, like
So I think, and considering this is the last, even though it's a 2024-25, it has everything from a 991.2 in terms of analog buttons, functions. You're talking about a car that's the last of its breed.
Yeah.
So it may be dropping in value now, but if you buy a GT4 RS, it's going to stay at that price for a long, long time.
Mark my words. I think this whole plans of Porsche taking the 718 and saying we're going to make it all EV, they're rolling back on this. They've already done this.
Yeah,
they are.
So they're going to offer a combustion engine with the new design of the Cayman, which is going to be amazing. I'm kind of curious to see where it will go, and I hope they do, because then it's not going to be the last of its kind. There still be another.
It might still be the last of its kind, considering the analog features that it has, right? It's like you're jumping into your car, but it's 6 years newer.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. When I sat in my car, the 991.2 GT3 RS, and I got into the GT4 RS, it felt the same.
Yeah.
Everything, the analog gauges, the
buttons, the shifter,
everything was like
the same.
a carryover from 991.2.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a sec, I'm not getting a newer car.
But is that a con or a pro?
I think it's a good thing.
I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you step into a 992 GT3,
and it's digital dash.
Everything's digital with no buttons,
no
everything's
soul.
glass screened. I think it's not a good thing.
It's a big, heavy car.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we should move on from this topic.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
Cybertruck.
Yeah. Before we go to Cybertruck, well, not quite
Nissan.
there yet. We
Nissan.
got to talk about Nissan.
Good old
and its
Nissan.
financial troubles.
Yeah.
What do you guys say?
I saw it coming.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What was the big reason for all the financial trouble?
Boring design, CVT transmissions, VQ engines that are 20 years old. Like, it's a dying brand. I'm surprised they didn't see this ahead before. But, like, even the Skyline GTR, which was a successful car, to be honest, hasn't changed. It's been that car is 18 years old, and it's the same car it was 18 years ago.
Yeah.
Even the body hasn't changed. They changed a bit of.
Prices have gone up.
Yeah.
And
It's just
I
have more power out of
I
it.
have probably two more things to add, I would
Yeah.
say. The first one being China.
yeah.
So 10 years ago, Nissan was the number one car company in China.
Yeah.
That is not the case now.
Oh, really?
No,
Yeah.
BYD. There's been a lot of
The homegrown
domestic,
one. Yeah.
right, that they supported. So I think Nissan's all but removed all manufacturing out of China, and that accounted for a lot of their sales. So I think that's part of it. China's able to fuel their own domestic supply. And then probably leadership and contributes a little bit to what you're saying, right? You know, it's obviously a polarizing figure, maybe criminal, but Carlos Ghosn.
Yeah.
He had a vision, right? I think he's the one that stewarded Nissan back into success. And I just don't think they've had strong leadership with a vision on exciting cars, getting back to their base.
What was it? They had the.
Wasn't it the CEO who took like a 50% pay cut to keep the company going?
Was it Nissan?
From Nissan? Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I think it was. He took, anyways, he was getting big money. But
there's trends all over, right?
Yeah.
Like Stellantis is replacing their CEO. I think the car market, you're going to see a bunch of consolidation. Nissan and Infiniti, they're rolling back. They're going to start co-locating again just to save on overhead and inventory. So you see they're thinking of. So I think Nissan had a 23% or they had a 30% stake in Mitsubishi, which is only worth the whole company, Mitsubishi Automotive, is like $7 billion. So they sold, I think, 10% of their stake there to give them a bit of money to operate over the next 12 to 18 months.
I didn't know this about Nissan, that they were part of this Renault-Mitsubishi alliance.
Yeah.
I didn't know that at all.
I don't know either. Yeah.
Yeah.
But now...
Yeah, there's a lot of shared platforms. If you went to the Renault lineup, you'd see.
But
like there's compact cars, I think, are basically the same.
Like, let's say they wanted to keep their, because they have a lot of boring cars. Like, honestly, they are boring. They're just point A to point B cars. The GTR, which I'm surprised, because I've seen renders of people like, just regular dudes with an Instagram account doing renders of a new GTR and kind of playing off the old R34 body, making it slimmer, nicer, modern. Why haven't they done this? Like, why?
Well, that's a nice to have. They can't sell enough GTRs to save their company.
Well, Porsche's doing it with the GT3. They're making a killing on these cars. The GTR can be competitive.
But Porsche, when they got in trouble, they didn't. You could argue maybe the 996, but it was the SUVs that saved Porsche in the early 2000s.
It was the Boxsters.
Boxsters and Cayenne.
And the Cayenne. The Cayenne that saved them out.
Yeah, so make a new Murano. Make a nice Murano. Why are you making it a 3.5 liter VQ again?
Well, why don't we like Nissan? We're car people.
CVT. That's the biggest
transmissions.
Transmissions.
That's
the number one.
Everyone you talk to, that is what they'll tell you.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. When you talk about GTR, when you talk about specialty cars, outside of your day-to-day commuter cars, I agree they haven't innovated quite a lot in it, made boring cars that normal people can't access. But when you get into the GTR, and they've also got the Nissan Z, which
flop, huge
really,
flop.
Yeah, Nissan Z flopped.
Huge flop.
I think it's a great looking car, but the fact that they offer a manual, but it's still a V6.
Still the same 3.5 VQ, same engine from.
Let's go back 20 years probably.
Yeah, 20 years. Like there's no innovation there,
They just
it was such a winning proposition. I remember in 2008, 2009 to get 300 horsepower out of an Altima or Max, whatever it was. That was category leading.
Yeah.
Now that's just another.
When the 350 came out and they had the G35 at the same time, those were really attractive sports cars, and they sold really well. There was a lot of them, and this car is essentially the same recipe, just with a newer body. The body looks. I can't say it doesn't look good. It looks good. It's a good looking car.
Yeah.
I think they took a lot of design cues from the older cars.
Yeah.
And it looks great. It's a good looking car, but just the recipe, underneath the shell is boring.
So what would make that car work for you? More, is it like different engine?
Engine for sure. It has to have something more unique. You can't put an Altima engine in this car and expect it to sell better.
Yeah.
What are the numbers on that? Like, would that be 350 horse?
I don't think it matters about the power. It's about the feel of the car.
Yeah, no, but I'm just curious.
I think they
400
still,
horsepower.
Yeah, you still have a 6-speed manual. You have launch control. It's still a connected car. From what I've seen people say about the car, it's a driver's car.
Let's go drive one.
Yeah, we should.
So maybe it's just like the Halo branding, right? Like, people just aren't excited to drive a Nissan the way they were like when in the 90s. I would have killed for a Nissan 300. They were exciting, awesome cars, right?
Yeah.
Or going back to like the Datsun days, those were great cars at their time.
So
right?
this in general is a Japanese thing, right?
Yeah.
Back in those days, Japanese manufacturers were making such emotional sports cars.
Prelude,
Supra,
S2000,
Supra.
So Celica was kind of. There's a point where even the newer one that looked kind of like an F1 car. Was design-wise, it was arguably ugly in a lot of ways, but
I
it
wouldn't
sold really
say
well.
it looked like an F1 car.
No, but they had that,
I know what you mean. Yeah,
the pointed front end.
Yeah.
Which one?
I don't know the generation.
It would be like a 2005.
No, earlier.
You think earlier?
Yeah.
With that being said, they're in financial trouble.
Yeah.
Enthusiasts have not been really flocking towards the brand for their sports cars or their daily user cars and whatnot. The whole alliance of Renault, Nissan, Mitsubishi is under threat. But now they're talking about a new alliance,
With
a
Honda.
merger. Not even an alliance, it's a full-on merger with Honda.
Yeah.
Mistake for Honda. It's not going to get better if they don't revamp the models of like their actual car models, then they're not going to go anywhere.
But you're thinking, you're coming at this from a car guy.
Yeah.
Like if you're running a business, you do this because you want scale, you want, cost efficiencies. That's why you're doing it. And what's funny is what surprised me when I read this. Do you know how big? So if you brought Nissan, Mitsubishi, and Honda together, do you know where that would put you in the list of automotive? Yeah, number
They're the
3.
third largest.
You'd be the third largest.
Yeah.
You're still not larger than Toyota, and I think Volkswagen's number 2.
Okay, so who's the leader there? Honda.
Toyota.
No,
Toyota.
No, but out of those 3, who's the leader?
Oh, Honda.
Honda.
Honda does,
Player.
I think, 4 million in automotive sales.
Yeah. So don't you think Honda would feel? I mean, by becoming a merger, are they sharing platforms, sharing motors?
That's the intention.
Yeah, they could.
So I mean,
They'll go through their entire manufacturing and saying, where can we cut costs? Where can we share platforms? I think Honda's a bit on the decline too. I don't know what.
yeah.
Well, Honda's been struggling from an
Yeah.
enthusiast market perspective as well, right?
Well, they don't have a single sports car anymore.
I mean, the Civic SIR,
That's not a sports car. That's
sports sedan,
But
a
you
rally
pay-
car.
No, the Civic
They'll
is a
charge you
great
70,000
car.
for it.
The Civic was always a great platform, especially like back in the early 2000s and before that.
Yeah, but
it was the
great when
tuner
it was
mark.
like $25,000 or $30,000.
Exactly,
right?
exactly. Not 75,000.
Yeah.
Well, you're 30,000 back in the day.
How much was an S2000? $48,000.
Yeah, but that's the thing though. With inflation and all of that, what was 40,000 or 50,000 then is like 70 grand now.
Yeah, but you had a sports car, not a Civic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I hope this merger, if it does complete successfully, brings us joy in some way, because I look forward to seeing Mitsubishi coming up with their Evo.
That'd be fun to see.
I mean,
So Rob, bodybuilder Rob,
Yeah.
he's been like texting me, let's go for a drive. Let's go for a drive. He got an Evo.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
it's like a 1,200 or 1,300 horsepower Evo.
Evo 9, Evo 10.
Evo 10.
Evo 10.
10.
And this thing, he's got a McLaren that's tuned. He had a Mercedes E63 on like 1,000 horsepower, like E85.
Well, he has the M3.
He says this Evo is beyond anything you've experienced.
Yeah.
It's a rocket ship.
This is the crazy
I'm
part.
scared to go with him.
I don't see. I don't want to
Given your
crush,
previous-
crush your dreams, bro. I don't think anything about that 3-way merger would bring you more joy.
Yeah.
I think it'll bring you economical cars that can sell at high volume,
what-
and hopefully they'll get margin out of it through production efficiency.
But that's what I mean. If they do the business right, oftentimes you got to do the boring stuff in order to do the cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if these guys figure out the business side of things to bring enough return on their investments that they can invest in these sports cars
Right.
for enthusiasts, then I'm
what?
for it.
I'd be looking forward to seeing an NSX GTR
Yeah.
platform
Yeah.
that competes with something higher caliber, like just nicer interior parts, like further away from the regular traffic they have at Nissan or Honda.
Well, you know what this is probably causing right now? The Subaru folks are probably like shivering in their knees right now. It's like, Subaru, the STI, and the Evo were big rivals
Totally.
right, in the Japanese
Yeah.
market. And now,
Is there even an STI anymore?
no, I think they stopped doing those. There's a WRX. But
Yeah,
not
there
an
is. But is
STI.
there an STI? I don't think
not
there
that I've
is.
seen. But this will give them a cause for concern, I would say. So
Also, contrary to popular belief, the most reliable brand was Subaru this year.
oh, serious? Eh?
Yeah,
Huh.
that was rated the most reliable car.
But like Consumer Reports.
Yeah.
Or is that who? Yeah.
Yeah,
I know they have high customer loyalty.
yeah.
I don't know if that's about.
Yeah, we're 46 minutes in.
All right.
So
All right.
let's wrap this
All
up.
right. So
Let's
Nissan-
dunk on the Tesla Cybertruck now.
First of all, who here would buy a Tesla? Not Tesla,
Cybertruck?
a Cybertruck. Nobody.
Raise your hand.
Raise your hand.
Yeah,
Nobody.
nobody.
All right.
I mean, as a toy car, maybe.
No, not a toy. Just in general, like any reason, like would you, if you had money to buy it just like tomorrow, they're laying around, would you buy a Cybertruck?
I would
I mean,
never
if I
buy
had
a
spare
Cybertruck.
money, I would.
Why?
Why?
Just the cool factor.
Is it cool though?
It's nothing like anything out there. I mean, it's so unique. It stands out. It's like a talking point.
I quicker buy an
It's like
Aztec.
Homer Simpson's brother let him design a truck.
I would literally, I would quicker buy an Aztec to be cool than to buy listen,
a mint
Breaking
shape,
Bad.
shave your head.
Yeah.
Have Walter White personalized plates.
I'd buy an RV and an Aztec.
Yeah. Start cooking.
That's funny. I think it's unique. There's questions about quality and fit and finish and longevity. I mean, I wouldn't buy it as my only car.
Here's the first problem. The first problem, it's called a Cybertruck, and it has no truck attributes. It's not a truck. It's a unibody shell that doesn't serve any person who actually needs a truck for any sort of work is not buying a Cybertruck.
Well, there might be a few that owns it here in our circle that might.
No, they're buying it for flex. They're not buying it for a truck.
Yeah, they're buying it
It's
as
a
part of
flex.
marketing.
Yeah.
It's for popularity, like
catch eyeballs.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's like a big billboard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
People are going, "Oh, what is that?"
Yeah. The thing is huge. It
is massive.
It's the same size as a 3/4 ton.
Oh wow!
And the people who are buying it are getting, like coffee in the morning and doing grocery runs at Whole Foods. Like it's just
You can't off-road it. I've seen so many videos of the battery submerged in water and the truck's messed up, and like you can't load. The bed's too high to probably even load lumber into it like on a daily basis.
But here's the thing: it's
impractical.
bulletproof. You can drive it on the moon.
It's bulletproof.
You do a lot of road
if
trips to the moon, Purple.
In the future,
When have you ever been shot at?
So this is the interesting thing. I think, what was it? One of those war-torn areas like Ukraine or Syria or something, they started converting these into those attack vehicles. They put a big gun on the back of it.
Of a Cybertruck?
Of a Cybertruck.
Great.
And so Elon Musk is now calling for them to pull those cars back. It's not going to happen. It's out there. So he's trying to control how those cars are going into those markets.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm sure. Can he not control them from like satellite?
He shut some of those cars down remotely.
This is reason number 122 why I won't have a electric vehicle.
You know what? The war aspect aside, I just visually the truck. I just find it has a very useless There's no purpose of this car. It's just meant to be a flex. And the problem is the people who are buying this car for the flex, it's not a good image.
Yeah.
I've seen real estate commercials from Toronto with these guys. They're listing a house, okay? It's a 36-second clip of a house. And 28 seconds of that clip is the Cybertruck pulling up. Like it doesn't leave a good image to me.
Well, the fact that we're talking about it has kind of achieved their marketing purpose.
Yeah, but it's the wrong
press is
wrong
good
image.
press.
It's the wrong attention in some ways. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so quick summary to wrap this up. Tesla Cybertruck hype. Thoughts?
Well, the market has spoken. Like try to resell it too. You see, I saw this one clip on Saliba. Yeah, I love this guy. He's great. Where he sold it to a customer for $125,000 US.
Oh yeah.
2 months later, he didn't want it anymore, and he was going to get 75 or 80 for it.
Ouch.
Yeah.
But that's the thing with EVs in general. Why would you put yourself in that position?
I don't know either. Listen, one EV you'd buy, if you had to buy a daily driver EV just to go to work and back, you have like a GT3, you have all these cool toys, Raptor Rs.
He's going to say Prius.
Shut up.
Coming.
What would you buy?
It was a Prius. Right?
I would buy Prius.
Yeah.
You would.
Pull it up, Prabhu.
Yeah, it's like a throwaway car.
It's a $45,000 car, and it looks phenomenal.
Yeah. I would never get an electric car.
No, but I'm just saying you have to get
Like gun to my head.
Yeah, you have to get an electric car to commute.
Yeah, that one looks
No,
You mean
that's the old one. The one next to
Or
it.
the white one right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. They
nice
look
car.
pretty amazing.
For an EV, I think this thing looks great. Like slam it on like some Volk wheels, boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't look bad.
Yeah, it's a nice car.
I think so, especially in this sort of contrast.
And you have to remember, this is a car that you don't really care about the aesthetics that much. You just want to get from point A to point B at an affordable price with as little depreciation as possible.
And to smoke M3s off the line.
Yes.
That's amazing.
But you know what? The electric hype is fading because these new cars are so fast. Like I know, like I drove a Plaid, or is it just a Plaid? I guess a Plaid, Model S Plaid. It's a fast car, but there's a lot of people with like, especially the M3s now that are all-wheel drive. You put on a tune for $1,000 and they're faster. So I don't think if you're looking for speed and reliability, I don't think that it's that much better anymore than it used to be.
Yeah. See, I think speed is great, but speed without
Brakes.
emotion and sound.
Without brakes.
Yeah, or brakes.
Or lightweight,
Yeah.
or
It's
sound.
nothing, right?
No.
When it has to be everything combined. I mean, there's something about artificially injected sound into the cabin that is so. It takes away from the experience, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So cars like the GT3s, the Mustang, Dark Horse, or those naturally aspirated V8s and things like that, where you get to hear the true sounds. That's what's engaging. That's what's going to take out the emotions in you. But Tesla Cybertruck, I mean, it's cool. If you have the spare money to go play around with it and use it as a business tool, sure, why not? In the Canadian market or Canadian space, it's probably not the most practical car to get.
No. I don't think even... I'm curious on the length of the car compared to like a Ford F-150, if it's longer or not. Because a lot of like if you buy F-150, it doesn't fit in any builder home. It's too long. Like the builder homes are like 16, 17 feet long.
You better build a house now that can fit the
No, but I'm just saying, in terms of size, this thing doesn't even fit in a lot of places, So it's not really practical even as a EV commuter car. Anyways.
I mean, for the general public, it's a big wow factor. They look at this and go, wow, that's an amazing car.
Yeah, my 6-year-old thought it was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
I did not.
Like Kim and Chloe, they both saw it for the first time and they're like, wow, that's really cool. I would want to drive it.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, yes, from the surface. But when you start to drive it, you start to see what the pain points
Why,
are.
by show of hands, who put a deposit down for a Cybertruck when they were first announced? I think we have at least one person at this table.
Did you do it?
Probably did it.
Did you actually?
Yes.
It was $100.
You actually put it down?
Yeah, I
Did you get it back or not?
Not yet. It's still sitting.
You bought
I'm
one,
still
didn't
thinking
you?
about it.
You bought a Cybertruck, didn't you?
No, I did not. Anyways.
But you know what? Also, another thing about Cybertruck, a lot of the people who own Cybertrucks are really trying to convince people that it's cool.
Of course.
And it's the fact that they're trying to convince you is, I think, the biggest problem.
It's like me trying to convince my 11-year-old daughter that I'm cool. It never works.
Yeah.
The harder I try to explain
worse
it,
it
the less
gets.
cool I am.
Yeah.
You just have to let go. Just enjoy it for you.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. So, one more thing I wanted to highlight about this. Actually, maybe not. We should probably wrap this up. It's almost an
We can't just introduce a topic and just say no. What are you going to say?
Fine. I was talking about electrification in general when we talk about how manufacturers are kind of working around these mandates for by 2020, 2030 or 35, you need to have electrification in your drivetrain and whatever.
Well, back to
I think the world's going to
back to
change.
GT3 talk.
No, I mean, it's not just GT3, right?
I think it's CAF. It's like across all manufacturers. I think the world's about to change on that.
Yeah.
I think the US will set a different tone.
Yes.
And I think Canada, hopefully, will see a change of government that will also relax on some of these policies that are driving this. So
Yeah.
I would just put a pin on it and say, like,
We'll come
check back
to
in 6 months.
Yeah.
Because Porsche's, there's a lot of talk on Porsche saying that they might not be
They're
able
walking
to.
away from it.
They might not be able to produce, even if they produce GT3s, they won't be selling in Europe.
No, North America only.
On North America only, just because there's so much rules. So I'm looking at that and I'm like, how is Aston Martin doing it? How are they popping out V12s? They don't have a single EV. They don't have anything, like everything's.
I think they're just saying screw it.
Can you do that?
No, but like I think, are they not part of Aston Martin? I might be wrong. Are they not part of Tata? What, are they not owned by?
No.
That's Range Rover Jaguar.
Yeah.
Range Rover Jaguar. Okay, because sometimes it's across the manufacturers.
Because
lineup,
that's a
right?
great manufacturer to talk about actually, which is
Maybe
which is popping up in a lot of popularity and comparisons, but it's a wicked brand.
Yeah.
They have awesome designs. The new interiors look phenomenal. The tech is improved. The engines are fantastic. So I don't know. Are we going to see the same depreciation we saw from Aston Martin before, or are they going to hold value much better now?
I think because they're doing the opposite of what majority of the manufacturers are doing, and they're listening to their clients or customers and saying, "We'll give you what you want."
Yeah.
Despite all of these regulations, and we'll find a way to make it fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this could be a very good topic.
Pop up Aston Martin. I want to see what the Vantage starts at.
But
No, I'm just
Lucas has taken over the show.
we're-
because listen, the GT3.
all
We just saw the GT3. It's 200.
Why don't we do a second? We'll wrap this one
No.
with the second one.
No, keep
we're
going.
into we're into
Just
now.
do
we're
it.
going about to die on batteries.
Okay, just hurry up. I want to see the MSRP on.
That's a beautiful car.
That's a beautiful
See,
car.
this is the downside. They don't give you MSRP numbers on.
They don't?
on their website.
Even for Vantage.
But probably
Yeah.
you've found yourself in an Aston Martin showroom in the last 12 months, right?
Yeah. So
But that was a 707 or whatever, or F1 edition.
No, he was
No,
thinking
no.
about the Vantage.
the new one,
Okay,
and they were still
What were they?
high up over 300.
over 300.
Yeah, close to 400. It was the same
Oh
as.
wow. So they're
like-
pricey.
Yeah, it's not.
Vantage. Look at it.
Beautiful car.
So compared to the previous car, it's gone up a lot. Like I think 80 or 80 grand more
Yeah.
than the previous car. So it pushes it into the 350 to 400 range now.
Okay.
So it's not as affordable as it was.
So it's
before.
basically
That is a car you can do well in the used market
yeah.
on, right? That
Yeah.
350 car is going to be worth 220 in
Yes.
2 years, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Actually-
these things, DBXs, brand new. They're
400 were they?
well, no, that's a 707. But if you buy like a DBX, like a normal one, it's like 280, 295, something like that. But used market, I see 2021's going for 140
Yeah.
grand, 130,000. Like they took a huge hit, you know?
But those were the previous generation Vantages, right?
No, DBX.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it's a great looking SUV. I think it's still using a lot of the old tech out of the first generation Vantage and stuff. But, and it's a great looking SUV.
Sounds amazing.
Sounds amazing.
I agree. I think a lot of people reject it because of its reliability issues.
Yeah.
Concerns around what is it going to cost me from
maintenance.
ownership. This is why people gravitate back towards a 911.
Yeah.
It's the one sports car that you can own that gives you all of what other sports cars give you,
Plus reliability.
plus the reliability. Cost of ownership is so low.
Serviceability too,
Yeah,
because there's a Porsche dealership in every town, right?
Exactly.
You buy this thing, I mean,
Where do you go?
where do you go?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we could do a whole topic on this. I'd love to deep dive into the design of each of
Yeah.
these cars
Yeah.
because it's such a cool brand now. If they can address the whole reliability issue, I think
Is
people
there a
could get
problem with
past it.
reliability?
Not anymore.
Yeah,
I don't
it's,
think.
yeah. I think there's fact and fiction on that,
Yeah.
right? They have a legacy of that, right? Like a 2008 Aston Martin Vantage, you're probably gonna have problems.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the case now.
Yeah. Cool.
All right,
All right.
let's wrap it
wrap
up.
this up.
Put a pin on it.
Yeah, great
Yeah.
chat.
This was good. Let's get that still back on.
Shake off the rust.
Thank you very much for doing another episode of this car talk. First and final
For 2024.
for 24. Look forward to doing more in 2025. I hope you all enjoyed this one as well. Like, subscribe, do all those things, and we'll see you all in the next video.